everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the last movie in the superhero thriller franchise, Glass.
After pursuing Kevin Wendell Crumb and the multiple identities that reside within, David Dunn finds himself locked in a mental hospital alongside his archenemy, Elijah Price. Now, trio must now contend with a psychiatrist who is out to prove they do not actually possess superhuman abilities. Here's the question. Kevin Wendell Crumb has 23 personalities, so how do you really know that he's in there?
Right. Right? It's like,
okay, I'm not making fun of people with a multiple personality disorder, but based on this particular movie, since they're pursuing him, how do they know they really caught him?
Right. Before we get into that, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and Paws videos.
Yes. And this was the conclusion of the M. Night Shyamalan comic book trilogy.
Yes.
Which began with Unbreakable, the second movie Split, and this last one is Glass.
Right.
And this last movie actually ends our superhero month.
Yes. And yeah, very fitting, really, because we have covered Unbreakable. We just have not covered Split because we just haven't seen it yet. And that's one supervillain movie in the trilogy, which would fit. But it probably would fit if we ever got to see it in October or something, because supervillains getting movies is a big thing now.
Yes.
So yes, for this one, it still keeps the same tone it had for Unbreakable and presumably Split, because we see they all have the same thing. We're just surprised, as we said before in another podcast, that it took this long for them to finish a trilogy, because Unbreakable came out in 2000, and then this came out earlier in 2020.
Right. But it seems to be the perfect time, because now comic books are no longer ridiculed, superhero movies are no longer ridiculed. So this was the perfect time for this trilogy to finish, because I think it got a lot more promotion, a lot more attention, and it did much better at the box office than it would have done if it had come out, say, at least a decade sooner.
Right.
So we have returning, just want to mention, Bruce Willis as David Dunn, Samuel L. Jackson as Elijah Price, and James McAvoy as the 23 other characters that are part of Kevin's personality.
Right. Now, we heard about this character in Split before. We just hadn't seen it because we did not know it was part of this trilogy. We thought it was its own movie. Mm-hmm. So when we got to Glass, they did make sure to explain the character. They do reference the Split movie and the Unbreakable movie in case you haven't seen it, or if you haven't, it's going back to those movies to show you that, this is what's leading up to this and to this big ending. And for here, it seems that he's triggered by this strobe light, and each time it lights up, it's a different personality, and all these personalities are part of its own thing called the Horde.
But that's only in the institution.
Yeah.
You don't know what triggers him on the outside. But
right.
This doctor, and we can't give away the ending, has discovered that strobe lighting will do the same effect of getting him to go to the next personality.
Right.
But outside, unless in Split, since we haven't seen Split,
right,
then at this point we'll say we don't know what triggers him in the real world, but in the institution, the strobe lighting would take him from one personality to another, and it seems that each personality had its own position, and it cycled so that they would flick the lights, and they would time it so that they would end up talking to the personality they wanted, because each one would just literally cycle.
Right. And then, of course, you still had Bruce Willis's character, what was his name again?
David Dunn.
Yeah, David. And you had, his son, who was still the same actor from the original Unbreakable movie, just older.
Yes, this is fantastic. And you did have also Samuel Jackson's actress who played his mom. She returned, and they had her made up so she looked older. Mm-hmm. And she returned as well.
Right, so they had pretty much all the returning cast that was in here.
Except for the wife, Robin Wright.
Right, and for the movie it says she passed. Now the actor's still alive, it's just for the character she's gone.
Right.
And for here, it looks like he's embraced more of the superhero part by going out and, protect the world from devastation, and seeing, you know, and seeing like who's the next person to go after and, you know, prevent them from committing the crime. He also has his son helping him, which is what he always wanted to do when he was a kid. So we see that continuing on, and then you see both him and Crumb and Glass, you know, they'll all meet. It all starts to come together as one when this woman appears, and as we said,
Dr. Ellie Staple. That's a funny
Ellie
name.
Staple. Okay.
Yeah.
You sure it's not like a pun or something, like a reference?
She's the one who ends up capturing them all and putting them in a place that's supposed to be like Arkham Asylum.
You're right.
And
she her job is supposed to be convincing that they don't really have superpowers, that it's not real.
And they're fighting against her, of course, because of course Bruce Willis, you know, he was unbreakable, so his power is he doesn't get hurt. And the Beast, which is the one personality within the 23, the Beast is the only one that is the super villain. And Samuel Jackson said that this is the one personality that has the superpowers. What's amazing is that the other 22, you can injure them and hurt them, kill them, and so forth when he's in those personalities. But when he turns to the Beast, you can't shoot him, you can't hurt him, you can't do anything to slow him down. He is invincible as the Beast, just as Bruce Willis is unbreakable as the superhero.
Right. And once again, it keeps the theme of it being psychological, and there is action in here, but it comes like a little bit in the beginning when they're finding Dunn, and then towards the end when they have the showdown,
which we're not going to tell you any of, because it would be horrible to destroy the ending and the showdown or any of that. If you haven't seen this, it would totally ruin your experience of the movie. So we're going to stop probably about half an hour short of that.
Right. And mostly, like I said, the story is, as we explain, of getting out of the institution, because they're aware of what they think they believe is their weaknesses, and it is their weaknesses, and it's really trying to really pick them apart, like she's really gonna have a breakthrough with any of them, like unbreakable. It's funny, and convince them they don't have these powers. And if you've seen the other two movies, it's impossible for you to do that. It's clear that the powers are real. They're not cuckoo.
And Elijah is so brilliant that he manages to outsmart them every step of the way, even when they give him electrostatic treatment. He even outsmarts them in that. It doesn't work. They think it's worked, but they learn that it hasn't by watching the cameras at night, and he's been coming out of his room and going around and visiting people and doing what he does.
Right.
So each actor, I have to say, is brilliant. Before we even get to that, I have to really give this humongous shout out to James McAvoy. I've seen him in many other movies. He's a great actor. He's a brilliant actor. Forget great. And in this movie, they only do 20 out of 23 of the personalities.
Yeah.
And every single personality is different. And somehow this man does 20 different people himself. And you believe that he has become each one of these personalities. And the voices are different. And the behaviors are different. And he just convincingly, brilliantly portrays 20 people himself.
Right.
So, wow. I mean, just kudos to you, James McAvoy. We knew you were brilliant before in many other movies we've seen you in, but this was some Oscar-worthy stuff. And probably because of the movie itself, you didn't get one, but you definitely deserve one for portraying these characters.
Right. And especially when they get to the main ones, like they show pretty much a majority of them, like you said, they show 20 out of 23, and they can show you examples of ones, like when they kind of quickly go through them to show you how many times he's getting changed. The ones that are really in there the most were Patricia and
the Beast, Kevin, his own personality.
Right.
Luke.
Right.
And I think
there's one that was 7, like who's
the little
forever
boy.
7.
I think that was Luke. I
think so, because
or was that BT?
Neil's BT, I think.
But those were the 5 main ones that
right.
he was cycled to. But the others would make appearances.
Right.
And again, when he's cycling through the strobing.
Right. And when he's back to normal, he's freaking out because he's like, it's almost like he blacks out because he comes back and all this stuff's happening and it's changed, and he's like, this needs to stop. Mm-hmm. And like, and the purpose of all the other personalities, like it's like a whole organization inside one man, and they think the Beast will be the start of something extraordinary for humans, and that's pretty much the goal of what they dubbed the Horde. And it's like it's a whole villain organization in one person.
Charlene Woodard, that's the woman who played Elijah's mom.
Okay, that was the name.
Yes.
Okay,
but yeah, it's the way it was written, as you said, is very psychological. You have to really pay attention. You really have to think about the first and probably the second movies.
Right, because they do reference it, and they have the girl from the second movie, so they kind of know how that one ends when you watch it.
The one that Kevin actually has made friends with.
Right.
And he can't believe that she actually wanted to be friends with him and cared about him. And she ends up being used by the doctor to try to manipulate him to do what she wants him to do.
Right.
But the third in this trilogy, it starts off slow. You don't think it's going to be exciting. You don't think it's going to have an ending that you can't figure out. You don't believe the ending that comes about.
Right.
And you're lulled. You're lulled in the beginning to thinking this is going to be like Unbreakable. It's going to be something that's kind of
really
simple, slow, and the ending will not be exciting or action filled, but they surprise you.
Right.
Yeah, he absolutely surprises you with the ending.
And there is 2 parts that are actually very humorous. You know, it's a pretty straightforward action thriller, superhero, so forth. But there are 2 moments in there that are actually funny. One was when Shyamalan made an appearance again as store clerk, and he confirms is that it's the same character from the first movie.
No, he's not a store clerk. He's a customer.
He's a customer. Okay.
And he sees Bruce Willis. He says, "Don't I know you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was leading a life down the wrong path before, but I got myself together, positive thinking and all that."
Yeah, right. It was the same guy. Like, oh, it's the same character all 3 times. Hilarious. And then the second was that when the woman was talking to Dunn's son, the girl, and Glass's mother, was that why she was doing it. The reason why she's doing it, right? The reason why she was doing it is because it was like an unhealthy. It was going into like the old-fashioned stereotype where the comic books that are poisoning their minds is making them believe they have the powers. That do you know what they have conventions based around them? You know what they sell there? They sell things there, and they're just looking like what? They're looking at like,
you know what they do? They sell things there.
They sell what things? Like yeah, what things? And what's your point? Everyone knows they sell stuff there.
Right.
Like that's the point, woman. It was actually funny because you were kind of looking like, you sure you're the doctor?
So, if you've seen this trilogy, or if you've just seen Glass, I was going to say if you've just seen Unbreakable, or if you've just seen Split, or if you've just seen Glass, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this was a fitting conclusion? Did you like the ending? Do you think that all 3 actors did the characters justice? Would you hope that maybe Shyamalan would make another type of superhero movie?
Right. And be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and Pause videos.
Yes.
And thank you so much for participating in this year's Superhero Month.
Yes.
I'm Masculine Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace. And remember, it's Batman. Always Batman.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket.